Hello and welcome to Brattleboro's Town Matters podcast. This podcast is a quick look at what's happening in Brattleboro town government. I'm your host, Town Manager John Potter, broadcasting from the BCTV studios in Brattleboro, Vermont. Today we're going to look back at the April 2nd Brattleboro Select Board meeting, and then I'll give you a summary of the agendas for the upcoming meetings on Tuesday, April 16th and Thursday, April 25th. The board met on April 2nd. They approved 8 items on a consent agenda. Originally, there were 9, but the Select Board pulled the Western Ave at Guilford Street and Williams design contract for consideration later in the meeting. The remaining 8 items that were approved included annual entertainment licenses for the Brattleboro Winter Farmers Market at 60 Austin Drive and the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center at 10 Vernon Street, event permit for the Brattleboro Brewers Festival, acceptance and appropriation of a $20,000 grant from the Vermont Department of Libraries for transition of the library's Wi-Fi network, approval of a parade permit for the Green Street School's annual Tulip Trot, authorization for the Department of Public Works to apply for 2 VTrans grants, one for up to $200,000 for culvert replacement work on Ackley Road, and one for up to $200,000 for resurfacing Greenleaf and Heinsberg roads. And finally, approval of a memorandum of understanding with Edible Brattleboro for use of a town-owned parcel at 805 Western Ave to create a food forest and pollinator garden. Under new business, the board considered the VTrans Bridge 54 project on Western Ave at Melrose Street. VTrans staff Gary LaRoche and consultant Dennis Verdiev joined the meeting and gave a presentation to the board on this project. The Select Board learned that while in 2021 the estimated total project cost for this work was $5.2 million with a town 10% match of $500,000, the new estimate for the project is $15.6 million and a town share of $1.56 million. After significant discussion, the board approved a motion to hold on this item to discuss further and to wait to hear if the municipal share could be reduced. Next, the board reviewed follow-up items from the representative town meeting and took no motion on this item, but directed staff on several issues. Next, the Select Board did their annual housekeeping and set up a rotation schedule among board members for reviewing and signing warrants throughout the year. They made various assignments to boards and commissions for Select Board members, and they reviewed their rules of conduct or rules of procedure and suggested several changes, including directing staff to consider the Vermont League of Cities and Towns standard rules of procedure and incorporate items from that as well as their discussion in a revised draft to be brought back to the board at a future meeting. They considered the Select Board's annual goals, and finally they scheduled a Select Board retreat for May 17th and May 18th, and details on that are to follow. The final item on their April 2nd meeting, they picked up the design work issue off of the consent agenda for the intersection work on Western Ave, and by a 5-0 motion, the board authorized staff to execute a contract with SLR Consulting for concept plans of intersection improvements at William Street and Western Ave and at Western Ave and Guilford Street. The next Select Board meeting is a regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 16th at 6:15 p.m. in the Select Board meeting room at 230 Main Street or on Zoom. And the preliminary agenda is the following. The board will consider a 4-item consent agenda, which would include a line striping bid award, a crack seal bid award, acceptance of a scoping grant for stormwater work at Black Mountain Road, and acceptance of a sidewalk grant at Fairgrounds Road. Under new business, the board will consider 2 items. First, they will look at an update on the Connecticut River FERC relicensing, and they will also consider an item from staff which is an update on the solid waste program for the town. The Select Board's Agenda Committee has also approved a tentative agenda for a special meeting to be held on Thursday, April 25th at 6:15 p.m. at the Select Board's meeting room at 230 Main Street or on Zoom. This is what is currently on that agenda, which is subject to change. On the consent, there are 7 items planned: liquor and tobacco license renewals, VTrans annual financial plan, a VTrans certification of road and bridge standards, both of which need to be approved by the Select Board, annual entertainment licenses for First Proof Press, the Hooker Dunham Theater and Gallery, and Vermont Earthworks, as well as the New England Center for Circus Arts. The board is expecting to cover old business on follow-up item on the Select Board housekeeping, the rules of procedure and rules of conduct, which I was just talking about, and also possibly an update on the VTrans Bridge 54 project and where staff have gotten on options or alternatives for that project. Under new business, the fire chief will come and discuss their quarterly fire department report for the first quarter of 2024. And then the fire department will also discuss their final EMS policy before that program goes into full effect in July, and that is around response standards. The finance director will update the board on the quarterly financial report for FY24 through the third quarter of FY24. There will also be an item under new business to consider the FY25 budget process in an after-action review now that that's been approved by representative town meeting. So those are the upcoming agendas. Under announcements today, I have 2 announcements. The planning department is hosting an open house at Oak Grove School for a discussion on how to calm traffic in the neighborhoods around Oak Grove Avenue. Weather permitting, those interested can take part in a safety walk of Oak Grove Ave and Clark Ave after the meeting. The open house is happening on April 18th at 5:30 p.m. in the school's library. If you're unable to attend and have thoughts on the topic, you can also just contact the planning director, Sue Fillion, at sfillion@brattleboro.gov or by giving her a call at 802-251-8112. And let's hear from folks on their concerns and ideas about calming traffic in that neighborhood. The Recreation and Parks Department is accepting registrations for summer camp, which is for children ages 5 to 12. You can register online or in person at the Gibson Aiken Center. Also visit brattleboro.gov, where you can sign up directly. Also, Rec and Parks will be holding a bicycle event on April 20th. Bring your bikes to Living Memorial Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Kiwanis Club will be giving away helmets to those aged 16 and younger and raffling off a brand new BMX bike. So that's what's happening in town government in Brattleboro at the Select Board level. Please reach out at townmatters@brattleboro.gov if you have any feedback. There's lots of additional information on the website, brattleboro.gov, about what is discussed at the Select Board meeting, so please check in there for agendas, reports, and backup materials. Thanks for listening, and check in again soon.